Coach Brian with Northwest Elite Spirit once again. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, do that now. This is going to be my lucid dreaming experience. And I'm just going to run you through my history of lucid dreaming experiences and some of my thoughts on different things around that. This is in part due to my practices from Carlos Castaneda's books. And right now, Don Juan's running him through at the beginning of lucid dreaming. And he's giving him some tips. He's giving him two tips or two tasks. First task is to bring his hands into focus, but only for a short time, and then look away, bring something else into focus, go back to his hands, and seek his hands. And Carlos has been like, oh, you're a madman, like this is only something a crazy person would believe, even though I imagine every single one of us has had a lucid dream and has been able to form some semblance of control over our dreams at times, and so we know this is a thing that can really happen. So Don Juan's given Carlos the easy task of finding his hands, or maybe not so easy task, finding his hands and then looking away, finding something else, finding his hands again, never moving beyond 4 things, I guess, because it probably gets complicated after 4, and then you're lost in looking around and getting lost in the dream again. So 4 things, no more than 4 things, always find your hands. That's the first task. And Carlos is starting to find that he can do that. And Don Juan has given him the second task now, but in the future, he's not even supposed to try it yet. It's to travel, pick a place, think of a place, and go there. And by the end of that bit of training, he'll be able to pick a place and go there and control the time frame in which it takes to get him there, I guess. I'm not that far yet. And time travel is or traveling long distances and stuff like that. That is something you can do in the dream world. We do it all the time. We're one place and then we find ourselves in another place, and maybe even a different time. So again, something so Don Juan's trying to get Carlos to be able to have more control over that. And he's saying it'll give him more power, in the waking world. And Carlos says, what are you trying? You're trying to make me into a madman? Everybody knows, the people who can't tell the difference between dreams and reality are considered crazy. And Don Juan has said that I'm not trying to make you into a crazy person. Of course, a man retains the knowledge that he is in one or the other. If he's in the dream world, he knows he's in the dream world. If he knows he's in waking life, he knows he's in waking life, and he can discern the difference. And through getting better at controlling the dream life, you get better at controlling the waking life. And that's where we're at so far. And so I'll just, again, go over some of the history of my lucid dreaming experience. My very earliest memory is a lucid dream. And I told the story recently, but I'll tell it again because I forgot a part, I think. So, in my earliest memory, I am standing at the top of my parents' stairs in a house that they own. And the hallway's got a blue hue to it, a really blue hue with all dark around the outside. So kind of shadowed around the edges. And I'm in my the onesie suit, they used to put us kids in, that zipped all the way up to the collarbone, and it had the plastic feet, that you would slide around in. So one of those. And man, I can see that I'm not very tall in this picture. It's very early. And I'm oh, I'm dreaming. I have this realization, even though I'm this little toddler. And I wonder if I can fly. And I start to float in my dream. And it's oh, I can fly. And I started making my way down the stairs, flying. And I would I'd be all over the place, just kind of bouncing off the walls, trying to figure out how to fly. And I noticed, and this is what I forgot last time, maybe, is that when I would make progress, when I'd be begin to make progress and get excited about making progress, your brain, even though you know it's a dream, is like, this can't be a real thing. And like, I'd end up floating back to the top of the stairs, and that happened multiple times until I finally got some semblance of control, like floating just below the, like back or and butt, like scraping the ceiling. And I dropped down to the right into my mom's fish tank room. And she had this whole room dedicated to fish tanks. And with like the black lights and everything that make everything like glow really cool. She had those like in actuality, like a whole room. And almost like a fish pet store. It was huge. Tanks were always really huge because, you know, different places we moved, she always had fish for a long time. So anyway, I make my way down into that room, and I drop down, and I'm like flying along the sides of the fish tanks, like looking in on these fish. And that is my earliest lucid dream. And since then, I've had a bunch. Like, I often have lucid dreams, always have. And I also would be, for a while, was a sleepwalker. And I mentioned it in brief, like last time I talked about this, but like, I have this vivid memory of laying on the couch and being in the Flintstones, like at the same time. And the Flintstones were on the TV. Like, I'm watching the TV, Flintstones are on. I fall asleep, I'm in the Flintstones. Like, you've seen, it's like, sounds cliche, like from a movie or like some cheesy TV show or something. But it really was like that. And I'm like, you know, I'm like having conversations in bedrock and like driving a car with my feet type stuff, right? And around that same time that was going on, I can't remember what I called the movie, but I remember the movie title now. It's Little Shop of Horrors, I think. And that's where Rick Moranis runs a plant shop, and the plants start like eating people. And so, like, I've had plants like that chasing me through the house, but I was like really running through the house, but asleep. I used to always dream we live next to the train tracks, so I used to always dream trains were coming through the house, like ripping through the house, and I would like be running through the house, running away from a train wreck, but like just in a dream, but in real life running through the house. That sort of thing. That doesn't happen anymore. And then lucid experiences. So I'm trying to think back to more lucid experiences. I remember one time I was being chased by it's like this giant wolf type thing. And it was like really, there's like a lot of like, it was like we were in the forest, but like a complex in the forest. So there was like giant garages and stuff, and like big tires laying around and things like this. And I'm being chased, and I'm like, I'm doing superhero stuff in the you know, like running up walls and springing off of trees, and this like werewolf thing is on top of me, and I can't lose it. And I come to this, it was like a little pond, but it looked like an ocean. Like, it was like a little pond, but it looked like I was looking down on an ocean. And to get away from this thing, I jumped in, and I went like really deep, and there were like fish everywhere, and like the light coming through the top of the water, and like, I don't even know how to describe it. Lots of different fish, different things going, bubbles. And when you first jump into water, you think, oh, I'm gonna drown. Like, that's your first intuition. But then you start lucid dreaming, or you've been lucid dreaming, and you can decide to breathe underwater in your dream. And so I've done that. So after that thing chased me, I decided to like be something like that once. And this isn't something I can do all the time. This is just, you know, things I remember trying and them happening. So I tried to be that beast once, and I like turned into a beast running through a complex type deal. Man, I remember a couple times I would ask somebody in my dream, like, are you one of my dream characters? And they would like get really glitchy and like man, I don't remember what they used to say. It was always the same thing. It was always the same thing when I'd ask somebody in my dream if they were a dream character or a real character. They would like glitch out in the same way. So when I first started, like again as an adult trying to learn to fly, I've been visualizing like walking like outside, but like in my brain or in my dream, or not in my dream, but like visualizing like walking outside. And then so when my dream came, I walk outside into the middle of the street, but like in my dream, and I decided I want to fly somewhere. And it's the first time in a long time I had tried it. And I get up in the air and I just start spinning around in circles and I can't go anywhere. And I kept attempting that, and it eventually went somewhere. I don't quite remember where. So there's that, and then like my coolest flying one was, man, I like immediately, like from the jump, I'm like asleep in a dream. I realize I'm dreaming. I think like right away, and I'm on this like almost like a highway. And cars are coming and stuff like this. And I jump up into the air and I start flying. And I look down and there is like a truck warehouse. They're like bringing goods in to and from this warehouse. And there's all these trucks lined up doing that. And I fly down. Like a guy gets out of his truck. I'm still like intentionally doing these things. I fly down and I like slide into his driver's seat and look down at him and wake up then. He said something, but I don't remember what it was. What else? And I guess my coolest one, and I talked about this before, my coolest one was running through the woods at night. Or at least at the time I thought it was at night. And I'm having a conversation with a friend, and in the dream I can't quite tell who the friend is. And it's a great conversation, and I realize I'm dreaming, like, oh, I'm dreaming, you know. And I wake up, and I think to myself, I'm going to try, wouldn't it be cool if I could drop right into that same part of the conversation, like that same moment, like foot falling at the same time, same exact, you know, spot in the conversation. And I was able to. I fell asleep and I was right back into step with that dream, and then, you know, forgot about it. So then I get invited to a very early morning run, like 3:30 a.m. run out in the forest near where I was living, and a friend invites me to run through the forest. And it was actually like I'd been in that spot a lot, I just hadn't came up where he came up. So it was like a way in that I had never been. And we're having this great conversation. Oh, and in the dream, it's just my spotlight hitting his feet the whole time. And like, it can't, like I said, can't quite tell. I couldn't quite tell who was talking. So 3:30, 3 o'clock a.m. maybe, we're running through the forest. I'm looking down at his feet with my spotlight, and we're having this great conversation. I'm like, wow, this is my dream. My dream had come true. And not only, so I had a lucid dream, but I had a lucid dream that came true. And I can't tell you how that sort of thing happens. All I can tell you is that it did happen. And I think this is the type of thing Don Juan is alluding to when he's talking about gaining power through dreaming. So you might ask yourself, what does this have to do with anything? So I've also noticed that possibly through lucid dreaming, I've increased my ability to visualize things. I'll give you a for instance where two things are connected from dreaming world and from waking life. So I don't know how many people like target practice at anything, but when you get really, really focused, it's almost as if like you can see the world kind of getting out of the way for you and things arranging themselves so that you can reach your target. And then so how powerful can that be in, say, your real world, right? Where you can gain such focus that the world just kind of rearranges itself. That's what it looks like when you're target practicing. At least for me, it seems as if, I don't know, like different lenses or something, like things start moving around within, like, you know, you talk about tunnel vision, and there's a clear path to my target. And I've noticed that in dreaming, it's kind of the same way. Like when you look at something, everything kind of rearranges around it a little bit. Even like as you take short glances at your hand, the world around it is kind of like moving itself, I guess, to help you to reach that target. Like for instance, I did a visualization maybe 2 weeks ago, and I was seeing like the really basic cliche, same old like patterns that you see, you know, like the repeated things, pixels, I guess you might call it. And I was like, that is like, I had something that I want to see. And I was like, okay, yeah, this is cool that you can do this, brain, but I want to see this thing. And through my imagination, I could take all of those pixels and I could arrange them to begin to make my thing. And I could even imagine them like pouring into it in different ways. Like if I was going to pour some of this over here, like you could picture like a little funnel of pixels going to there and like filling up the picture that way, and then putting the thing that I'm imagining in front of me. And that's pretty cool, right? Like that you can do that, and you really can do that. And a lot of athletes will tell you, like, they put themselves in the arena. They hear what they are going to hear when they get there. They feel how they want to feel. You know, they put themselves in it before they even go to the event, right? So in a way, they're trying time traveling through visualization and then executing, you know, imagining themselves doing their best. And then when it comes time, they do that. And I think the power of dreaming pours into that. It makes it easier, far easier for you to visualize. And you can let's say you, for instance, practice making the world stop, right? Which is the practice of relaxing your vision and not having your vision be so dominant. Your vision is the only thing telling the story, but there's so much more going on in the world, right? Or just around us in general. And you focus on hearing instead. And you don't have to close your eyes. You can just relax your vision. Don't focus on any one thing. And then you can start to listen and experience the world through listening. And the more you practice that, the better you get at it. And so again, like from that practice, being able to, what am I trying to say here? So you're be able to like, it's like wiping the vision slate clean. So you wipe the slate clean and you make room for something else, anything else. And you actually get a deeper connection to the world around you if you focus on a new thing or try a new thing, like turning off your vision and feeling and listening, right? And I've turned that lately into, well, I'll go into it here in a second. But then you can also relax your vision and your hearing and you can just feel what's on your skin, and like really have that be where your attention lies, is on sensations. And so now you've reached like 3 different ways of connecting with the world around you. I mean, you're already kind of well associated with like touch and hearing, but they're just not as powerful as vision. And so you can like begin to actually expand your world, and it helps you to focus even more. You're even better at listening for what you want to hear. Like if you want to be a champion and you want to hear the crowd roar, you can relax your vision and hear yourself in the crowd hearing those things. And so practicing that in dreams makes you better at it in life, or waking life, and practicing it in waking life make you better at doing it in your dreams, I think. What else? So I had told you guys about the Gracie's dream where I was in. It was like the Gracie's lost footage. There was a guy doing a voiceover. He's like, the Gracie's lost footage. And the Gracie's it's like really grainy video looking thing. And it's like I'm in the dojo with them, and they're dancing on drums, and they're beating their gis on drums and saying some chant. Just having fun. It was like goofy fun, not anything like ceremonial, I don't think. Maybe both. And I looked at them and I was like, but those aren't the Gracies. And like I was able to put the faces of different Gracies on the people in the room. And it was like young ones to old ones. So it's like you can like think like, okay, if it's young ones, well, the young ones are the little, like if it's old footage, they're like the really little guys are these guys, and you can actually like attempt to lay it out according to age. At least I was able to. It's another interesting lucid one I've had lately. Man, I can't remember them all. And so Don Juan, so there was a time when I would write all this down, or at least be worried about trying to, and at times actually doing it. But Don Juan is suggesting that that's not the point in it all. The experience is where the lesson is. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to experience it and just let it come as it does. So I know I've had a couple more, but I just can't remember exactly. Oh, I'll tell you another interesting one really quick. So I love state parks. I love being out in the forest. And I pull up to this state park, and this big old Indian guy introduced himself, like Native American guy, big, strong-looking guy introduced himself, and I introduced myself. And then we're talking, and then he grabs me, and he pins me under a tree, and like I'm looking up at the branches and stuff, and I realize I'm dreaming, and he's like down in my face, and he says, "Who hurt you?" I'm like, "I don't know." "Who hurt you?" "I don't know." And then he says it one more time, and then what did I say? Oh man, now I don't remember. But then he grabs me by the hand and he picks me up, like helps me to my feet, and then I'm in a tree, but in the dark. Like it's like a tree, but it's like the only thing is this tree, and in this net that I'm in, and there's all these babies like around me, and then there's actually there was nothing at first. And this same Indian guy, he like opens up a latch from like out of the dark, like, and this latch opens up, and I'm peeking up into this light, and he reaches down, and then it like the bottom turns into like the bottom of like say a cabin or something, and I start handing him babies. Then he helps me up, and that dream was over. So another interesting like dream. And that was all lucid. Sometimes you just go along too, like. Sometimes you don't have to be in control. You can just go along. And even if you get like lost in a dream, it's not so unsafe. It's if you get lost in your waking hallucinations, I think, where people go wrong for one reason or another. And that's the thing about this stuff too, man. New levels brings new devils. New levels bring new devils. So if you start toying with your mind, maybe some things can get in there. But I think that's like in everything we do. Like if you start toying with your stomach, or if you start toying with your lungs, it's the same. And we need to be careful with all of these things. And maybe maybe your brain could like end up liking, like, so when you get in some of these experiences, like I told somebody, I remember Joe Rogan said when he visited, like when he had his DMT experience, he was told not to be overwhelmed by the awe. And I think that awe that we experience can be like I bet comes along with like dopamine and serotonin and just this big hit of feel really good, and you get really high and your brain likes it a lot. And I think maybe it could start making it happen without you because it likes it so much, or it's searching for that first hit. A lot of the drug addicts, they say they're always looking for that first hit, and maybe that's what happens. Your brain keeps looking for that first hit, and you get kind of lost in the sauce. So be careful. Don't be overwhelmed by the awe. And so I say that, and I was telling somebody about that, and I liked that idea because I noticed when I had my DMT experience, every time I would be in awe, there was like this Aztecan shadow thing. Every time I'd be like really relaxed and just accepting, it'd get closer. But when I would get scared or become in awe, it went away. Ultimately, it never got really close. I'd always be scared or in awe, and it went away. And I think that's part of it too. Like you get lost in the sauce, you get lost in the awe, and you get stuck on the high, and you lose the benefits of if you could maintain yourself and understand what's going on, I guess, with you. I'll have to give some more thought on how to talk about that. Just don't be overwhelmed. Oh, so I didn't even get to it. So I told a person about that. Told a couple people about that, and they were both like, oh, but that's what I want. I want the awe. And so, you got to get over. Yeah, we know. We all like the awe, and that's what you're after. But, new levels bring new devils. So I'd be aware of that. So other than like when you're like shooting a bow or doing something that requires some aim, focusing on a target far away, and the world kind of dialing itself in to get out of your way, there's like other things that I've been able to do now, visualization. So like if somebody is talking about like a driveway or a house or just anything, I can look and I can close my eyes or I can not close my eyes, and I can begin to like kind of see like what they're describing. It helps me see it a little better, and I'm getting better at that. So the more I practice doing that, the better I get at like laying out these little 3D models, like when somebody's describing something to me or when I'm describing something to somebody. And then, so like, even if you're not in a 3D model, let's say you go back and watch my video about manifesting like the house of your dreams, and practice that a lot. And soon, because I'm asking you, like, what does it feel like? What does this thing feel like? What does that thing feel like? So now, if you were to imagine your front door, if you have a front door that you want, and you can see the front door, see it with all its brackets and its hinges, how you would like those. And maybe it's not so clear now, maybe you don't even know now, but just throw some hinges on it. Throw a doorknob on it, and later you can like put the door handles on there that you want. And eventually you'll be able to begin to through practicing turning off the world and not necessarily focusing on hearing, but focusing on sensation, you can like reach out and touch your door. What does the door feel like? What does your door feel like? Right? And so that may sound insane, but it doesn't, because there are things you can imagine right now touching or smelling or tasting, and you can actually do that. So we know that's a real thing. And if you practice it, you get better at it. With the understanding that new levels bring new devils. You know, Carlos, I guess the end of Carlos Castaneda's story ended kind of funky. I'm not going to give away the ending. You can go see for yourself. But Carlos had a strange and seemingly tragic ending. But we can see where that's headed, like in the book. He's always saying he's too weak for this. Don Juan is hoping that Carlos will get over his meanness and his violent tendencies and his need to be right all the time and control and manipulate and lie. And Carlos like breaks down and cries. And in the one I recently read, Carlos breaks down and cries, and he says, "I'm sorry, Don Juan. Your ways are too strong for me. Your world is too strong for me." So just be careful what you're getting to. And man, if we could get even into it even more, Don Juan says that a man that's going to be on this path, or a person that's going to be on this path, has to be impeccable. So you can't go into this with such pettiness. Like if you're a petty person, or if you're a person like seeking some sort of prize or lordship or over others, you're going to twist the world, I guess. You know, like, sounds pretty twisted the way Carlos went out. And as far as Don Juan goes, like, I look at it as like kind of like kung fu, right? So in a lot of the kung fu stories, the well-meaning old master takes in some young adept and tries to teach him the ways of kung fu, and the student turns out to be a bad guy. And the teacher knew all along that there was a chance for that, but he taught him it anyway in hopes that it wouldn't be like that. And, you know, it was like that. So I don't know enough about Don Juan to say, but he does sound well-intentioned and practical to me when they talk. Don Juan tells Carlos, and I mean, if you're going to try lucid dreaming, it's good advice to look at it as entertainment. Like having a lucid dream and waking up and be like, I wonder if I could do this thing. You know, it sounds outlandish and ridiculous, but if you look at it as just a fun thing to try, you'll surprise yourself quite a bit in the lucid world. And it's even the same in the waking world. Like, practice visualization, give it a try, and you might not be surprised at how well it works. Once again, this has been Coach Brian with Northwest Elite Spirit. If you have not hit that subscribe button yet, do that now. This has been my lucid dreaming experience. Like, comment, share, and of course practice. For access to my suggested library, my blog, my Northwest Elite Spirit merchandise, and to have me as a personal trainer online, go to northwestelitespirit.com. Thank you.